I'm joined today by Jeanetta Hendricks, who's General Manager Care at Fedgroup. Jeanetta, welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for having me on your channel.
My pleasure. I would like us to discuss the latest trends in beneficiary administration as to where we're at today.
This beneficiary fund administration used to be a very specialized space several years back. When it was brought into the regulatory control of the FSCA, the requirement was a 13B license. And, you know, a lot of providers have these licenses available. So the trend really was to just bolt on the beneficiary service as an additional service rendered by existing 13B administrators. So the trend has moved from a very specialist environment into a more generalist environment as an additional service offering that administrators can offer to their client base.
Thanks, Jeanetta. So what's involved in beneficiary administration?
This beneficiary administration has got a delicate care that surrounds it. There's a level of care surrounding how you look after money earmarked for minor beneficiaries. And it's to this end that we even refer to our beneficiary fund as beneficiary care, because it's not just an investment. The care and diligence that even the trustees of the fund have to apply to looking after the monies for these minor beneficiaries is something that you don't just, it's not transactional. There's a child behind every transaction that's presented to the fund. And the fund's duty is to look after the money, first of all, by preserving it, by growing it, and also taking care of the day-to-day needs that a minor beneficiary or a child, let's put it that way, a child would have. So we almost have a paternalistic view on how beneficiary funds are administered. And we say that care sits at the heart of what you do. Without the care element, the human touch, it's just a transactional investment. But it is so much more than that. It is looking after the child, understanding the importance of the guardian, because the guardian can be your biggest friend or your worst enemy. If the guardian doesn't understand what you as a fund are trying to achieve, the guardian will almost see the child's money as an extension of their pocket and will want to plunder it. So there's the education element. There is the element of preservation. There's the element of ensuring that the child knows that this beneficiary fund has been set up for them when they legally are able to take over, that there's money left for them to do so.
100%. Yeah, you use the word paternalistic, and I tend to agree with that, because I think, you know, in an environment where there's risk of these benefits being squandered, I would much rather have a situation where it's a controlled environment, where there's certain checks and balances in play, and that assures a future for that dependent child. Whereas otherwise, as I said, you know, if the money is squandered, then he or she has got very little future at all. So I like that approach, because I think it's just more prudent and ensuring that there's a good outcome for those beneficiaries going forward. Is there maybe an example or something that you can maybe give us of the typical benefits that are paid out? You know, when we talk about this care process, what are the things that are involved in there? So give us a little bit of detail. You know, how does it work on a day-to-day basis?
Right, so the beneficiary fund is set up with the intent of receiving proceeds from retirement funds, as well as approved or employer-sponsored insurance policies. And with the aim of, retirement funding is a social type of funding. It's there to ensure that those we leave behind, should we pass away, are looked after, because it almost replaces our salary that we brought from our occupational proceeds. So the beneficiary fund has got exactly that mandate, to care for the day-to-day needs. of the child, because we understand beneficiary funds are there because a child can't look after their own money. And paying out money to the guardian, even if the guardian has the best intent for the child, a beneficiary fund offers this protection mechanism, which is fabulous. I mean, a beneficiary fund is even defined as a pension fund organization. So it carries with it the protection that a pension fund in essence has. And one of the very important protection mechanisms is that of protection from creditors. So a child's money is protected from creditors. If we are to look at the opposite, if the proceeds, the death benefit proceeds for the child, were to be paid out to the guardian has no mechanism of ring fencing that money. So when they find themselves in financial difficulty, the creditors would lay hands on the money intended for the child, which has got an unintended consequence. And the parents or the deceased parents' will or wishes for what should happen to their money is ultimately scuppered in that regard.
Thank you, Jeanetta. So in this transition period, where does the pension fund's responsibility stop and that of the beneficiary fund kick in?
So a pension fund has a duty to discharge their fiduciary responsibility to the deceased member's dependents and beneficiaries. And once they have done so, i.e. by paying the death benefit disbursements to the necessary beneficiaries, payment to a beneficiary fund is seen as payment to the minor child.
Right.
That board of trustees or board of management actually hand over the fiduciary responsibility in lieu of the child to another board of trustees that exists within the beneficiary fund. So the two boards basically partner to form the seamless type of care surrounding the beneficiary of the deceased member.
I understand. Yeah, I like the catch net that this creates, to look after people that can't really look after themselves necessarily over the long term. And it gives them a leg up in terms of creating a future for themselves. So I like the concept, and I really think you guys are also doing a splendid job. I mean, from what I hear and what I know from you guys in the industry, it's a really critical service that is being performed. So well done on that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think there's also a lot to still talk about, as things progress, as things come in, changes come into legislation and all of that. So it's always an ongoing discussion. So I would love to maybe re-engage with you guys in the future and just catch up a bit on the sort of latest things that would be happening. That would be great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Now, we look forward to engaging with you. I think that the topic is somewhat still unknown in the industry, and I think requires a lot more focus, especially, from pension fund choices. What is a good choice for a beneficiary fund? Is it a choice that one makes out of convenience, or do you actually understand the critical role beneficiary funds play in the lives of those who are dependent on someone's income? And once that is understood, I think in more detail, I anticipate a lot more specialization coming to the fore again, almost going full circle from specialist, generalist to a little bit more specialist focused in this space.
100%. Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep track on those developments and maybe have a bit of a chat about that in the future. Jeanetta, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and we'll certainly have a lot more to say going forward. Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.